Here's what I disagree with you on. I actually, because I've done so much studying the numbers, I disagree with the idea that there's police brutality that is disproportionately affecting Black Americans. I don't disagree with you on the fact that Black Americans are disproportionately being locked up. But what I disagree with you on is the reason why. It's nothing to do with, in my opinion, because we're Black. Like, we're not, there's no sentence that you get 20 years because you're Black, but there is economic privilege in this country. And if you're rich and you can get a great lawyer and you can get off, then great. Like, I've had girls had their, like, white friends of mine had their entire DUI go away because their dad paid the judge $25,000. It's not because she was white. It's because her dad had $25,000 to pay to a judge. Yeah. Money doesn't see color. But the Black community is economically depressed.
Why?
Because we continue to vote for people that are economically depressing us. This is where you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not disagreeing.
But these things were present before we had the right to vote. So you have to give me more than that.
But no, because in the 1950s under Jim Crow, Black economic growth was actually outpacing whites until the 1960s when they put in place, LBJ put in place the Great Society and married us to the government. So I've watched the economic trends. I've looked at them. My grandfather, born in the 40s, on a sharecropping farm,
let me stop you.
Did better than my dad.
You don't have to explain this to me because I think segregation hurt us, okay? In the form that we had Black doctors, Black lawyers. We had a strong Black community in which Black people lived together and were very productive and had businesses.
That's correct.
When, racist white people didn't come and burn them down like Black Wall Street. But we were very productive. All we needed was access to the same level of education, access to the same jobs. However, we didn't need to just come in and segregate. What did that mean? That meant leave your neighborhood, take your talent and your resources and go and live somewhere where people don't want you, where they burn your house down and put burning crosses in your front yard and say, leave our town. You talk about wealth, right? The average college graduate that's Black makes $13,000 less than the average white college graduate. You look at these numbers, you look at the wealth gap and how it extends, and then you say something to me like, well, they can afford lawyers. So now you have this wealth gap, and you have white people who are sitting on top of this and Black people who are on the bottom. And then you talk to me about the criminal justice system. And that's where it manifests.
But hold on. First, I want to talk about this idea of white people making more money when they get off of school, because there's so many other factors that could contribute to that. What are the majors that people are taking? If you actually look at, like, what's it called when you let people in because of the color of their skin? Affirmative action actually negatively impacts the Black community. Because if you're going to go and just get into school because you're Black and your grades aren't going to be as good as your white classmates, when you get out of school, they look at your record and how you actually did. So it doesn't serve us. We actually just need to compete and get into the schools that we deserve to be in. And then maybe we could be at the top of those classes because we're in schools that we should be into. Dr. Thomas Sowell does a brilliant job of breaking this down, of how. And there's also another book called Stop Helping Us, affirmative action being another thing that is supposed to be helping us, but if you look at the results, it's actually hurting us.
Well, if my name before I changed it was Walter Newsom. Walter Newsom had a bachelor's degree. Walter Newsom was very good on paper, and Walter enunciated, right? So Walter was white until he showed up to a job interview and they saw that he was Black and he was treated differently. You mean to sit here and honestly tell me that employers don't discriminate against Black people? Like, that there was no need for affirmative action? Like, there were doors that had to be broken down. There were barriers that had to be, we had to jump over these hurdles so you and I could have this conversation. If it wasn't for people taking these steps and people like me, you wouldn't have this show.
Wait, hold on.
Like, these things are a necessity.
I didn't graduate university, so actually.
You're somewhere else.
What I'm saying is that I'm not debating
having these opportunities because of the freedom fighters.
I'm not going to debate whether or not
affirmative action.
Affirmative action.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the past. I'm actually interested at just objectively looking at the results, which is that it's harming the Black community. It's not helping us. Okay. So when you say on the outset,
because you still have these diversity officers. My friend said
we're not able to compete.
Head diversity officer at J.P. Morgan, and he literally has to go into these rooms and teach these people what diversity should look like. Diversity and inclusion is serious because these corporations just don't get it. They're oblivious to these practices. A large number of America is oblivious oblivious to oppression.
So let's apply it a different way. So let's say you flew in here, right? Would you be happy if you knew that pilots were just being hired because they were black, and yet maybe not the best pilot who knew how to fly the plane?
My sister, if you know, you're better with numbers than me. I like the law, right?
Or do you just want the person that's actually the best equipped?
What you would want to see is, what you'd have to understand is, black people have to work twice as hard and overcome twice as much. Me coming from the crack era in the South Bronx, I had to work twice as hard just to survive and then thrive in schools that were subpar, in schools that put me on a path to go to jail as opposed to college.
Oh, I agree with you about the education system. We can get into that. But again, that brings me to the Democrat Party.
So what I'm telling you is, if it's a black man, like one of my friends, his name is Denville, who's flying that plane, I look at that black man and say, wow, brother, you had to work twice as hard to get there.
See,
because your family didn't
I really
have
hope
those
this guy knows how to
opportunities.
land the plane. I don't care what color he is.
Yeah, I mean, I see a black person in positions. Now, there's still black firsts, right? Like Louisiana has its first black female mayor. I was just there last week, and I'm like, wow. So you say, I just want to see the plane land.
Yeah.
I say, wow, that's progress.
Right. You know, and I want the person that's best equipped. But if I have to go in tomorrow and get surgery on my heart, I don't want to say, I'm really happy this black doctor's doing this. I want to know that this person knows what the hell he's doing.
What I contend is those black doctors had to work twice as hard.
Dr. Ben Carson worked very hard, but he's a conservative. Right. And he's called stupid, and he's called an Uncle Tom, and he's called a coon because he's a literal brain surgeon that is called stupid and rejected by our community as he's trying to explain to us, because he has expertly, and if you read his stuff, explains to the black community that the help is hurting. And he had, no one has a story about coming from nothing harder more than Dr. Condoleezza Rice and Dr. Ben Carson. Literally nothing, right?
You leave my guy from Harlem, the Bronx out, Colin Powell. Don't leave my guy
Colin
from
Powell,
my
Colin Powell too.
You can't leave him out.
Yeah. Right? And so they make it. And they then go back and try to offer the community, hey guys, this is what's going on. I'm now at the top, and I'm trying to tell you something.
What's Ben Carson offering?
Dr. Ben Carson,
what's he offering?
He works for HUD.
I mean, a lot of people have jobs that don't do. We know this, right?
He has tried to explain to the black community.
This
is what bothers me, is that the black community is so quick to tear down people that have the most amazing feats, and yet we'll put LeBron James up and be like, he's a hero. He put on a Beto cap. No, listen to what Dr. Ben, have you read his books? He's trying to help the black community, and we're so ignorant that we just go, oh, well, he's a conservative, so what's he doing? He's got a job. He's not doing
I beg to differ.
He broke barriers.
I beg to differ. We learned about this man in school, right? We learned about him in school. But when you look at people and you say, okay, are they fighting for us? You are prejudging. Get that out of your mind. Not all black people think like that. You lead a movement where black people don't think like that. So don't say all black people feel this way, because they don't.
About what?
About Ben Carson because he's a conservative. No, we don't. We feel that way because we don't see the end result, the work product that he has. Like, I judge each party. I judge the person. I think America's too caught up in these identity politics and in this polarizing culture where we just can't say, hey, that's a good man or that's a good woman. That person can't be good or do good things if they're on the opposite side of the political spectrum to me. Obama, I love Obama, but I had a lot of problems with his administration. Okay. Now, I do not like Donald Trump, but I say, wow, thank you for the First Step Act. I say, why didn't the Democrats do that when they had the power? You see the balance in this dynamic? Right. So if I'm sitting here saying, hey, I'm not feeling that, brother, it's because I feel a certain way.
Right. Well, I know. And it's, so for me, you got some of the most educated and the people that have, you talked about breaking barriers. That's why I brought them up. People that have broken barriers, and yet our community has rejected them because our goals have been reset culturally. We have a community that wants to uplift and hail LeBron James when he puts on a Beto cap. A community that wants to hail Colin Kaepernick when he takes a knee, half white Colin Kaepernick when he takes a knee and says he's putting, shedding light on an issue. And then a community that rejects Clarence Thomas, who makes it to the Supreme Court, that rejects, Dr. Ben Carson.
Right there. Let's go back to Colin Kaepernick.
No. I'm just, let me just finish the point, right? That rejects Dr. Ben Carson, a community that rejects Dr. Condoleezza Rice, who literally made it from times that you could not make it as a black person because they're old. You know what I'm saying?
I have.
And they're called coons and Uncle Toms and traitors.